Hello and welcome to another video on the Life After Brady channel. Today we're going to take a look at the 2020 NFL season. Looking back at 2019, some unlikely players from 2019. Can they repeat in 2020, or will a new player take their place in the 2020 season? We'll start with Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill moved over prior to the 19 season from the Dolphins after a disappointing start to his career and absolutely lit it up in Tennessee, led the league in several categories, or at least was in the top of the league in several categories. What players could move from a backup role at the start of 2020 or just under the radar into a really dominating year, possibly leading their team to a championship game as Tannehill did? I got three candidates for you. The first is Nick Foles. The former Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagle and Jacksonville Jaguar moves over to the Chicago Bears. Many have thought for a while the Bears are a quarterback away and just haven't had it. Foles maybe can be that guy. He moves into Matt Nagy's offense, which should have some similarities from Doug Peterson, as they're all under the Andy Reid scheme. He clearly is an upgrade over Trubisky. He's gotten lucky in the playoffs, in my opinion, a lot, but the level of replacement from Trubisky to Foles absolutely could be the same as what Tannehill did to Mariota last year. Speaking of Mariota, he's the second guy I have on the list. Still only 26. I wonder how much he was just bogged down in Tennessee, was just too focused on the coaches, telling him to not lose games, hand the ball off to Derrick Henry, which obviously was the way they won last year. And maybe just to me, new mindset. The same way Tannehill moved to Tennessee and had a new mindset, I think Mariota could do the same thing for Gruden. Gruden's probably a better offensive coach than what they were seeing in Tennessee, so maybe Mariota breaks up there. And the next guy is Philip Rivers. Had a down year in 2019, 23 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, and a 66% completion percentage. I wonder, in a completely new offense, new system, and a veteran guy, can he step up the same way Tannehill stepped up for Tennessee? Can Rivers replace that Brian Hoyer, Jacoby Brissett mix? I would say yes. With that being said, though, I think the most obvious candidate is Nick Foles. The Bears have a talented team, have a talented defense. To me, he's going to be asked to do the least in this amount, similar to what Tannehill was asked to do in Tennessee last year. So for me, Nick Foles is the breakout candidate at the quarterback position in 2020. We covered breakouts with Ryan Tannehill. Let's go the opposite direction. Let's look at quarterbacks that could take a step back, similar to what Baker Mayfield did in 2019. There are three second-year quarterbacks that I highlighted here. Murray, to me, is above the Baker Mayfield line, and Dwayne Haskins just didn't play enough in 2019 to really give us a bar of what he'll do in 2020. So we start with Gardner Minshew. 14 games played, 21-6 touchdown interception ratio, took the job from Nick Foles. Secondly, Daniel Jones, 13 games played, 24-12 touchdown interception ratio, just below a 90 quarterback rating. And the third guy is Drew Lock. 5 games played, 7-3 touchdown interception ratio, and just around a 90 quarterback rating. I throw out Jones. I think Jones still doesn't have nearly the hype that Mayfield did, so he doesn't count in this category, which leaves Drew Lock and Gardner Minshew. Drew Lock, to me, has the hype that Mayfield did. People are talking about how the Broncos offense is dynamic. He's got all these weapons with the new receivers. So to me, there's the hype in the offense, but I don't know if people really believe in Drew Lock. So for me, that's why it's Gardner Minshew. He came in as a sixth-round quarterback, played 14 games, won the job. I just don't have faith that touchdown interception ratio can stick. I think he's going to be forced to do too much in 2019, similar to what Baker forced himself to do, of just do too much. And I think by the end of the year, you could see them tanking really for a top 5 pick. So I think Minshew is the clear choice here of who's has some hype coming into 2020, but really is going to fall off from what he did the year before. One of those most popular things in the NFL year to year is teams that break out from a bottom 5 to a top 5 team each year. The NFL schedule just allows you to do it. The worst teams play the other worst teams every year. The top teams play the top teams, and then just it's so weird with divisions. You could play the weak division one year and then a strong division the next year, or vice versa. So to me, I circled 3 candidates. First, the Detroit Lions. The main reason for me, Matthew Stafford, he's a really good quarterback. I think we've kind of gotten into this groove of there are all these very good quarterbacks now. We think of Jared Goff, we think of Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers. I think Matthew Stafford's still an actual very good quarterback. He actually can win games on his own. I wonder how much some of those other guys that people think are in that 5 to 15 range, are they really in that range? So Matthew Stafford, to me, played well before injuries last year. I expect him to bounce back. I also expect Matt Patricia. I mean, who knows if he's a good coach or not, but he's going to lay all his cards on the table. He can't hold anything back this year. He's not going to play it safe and try and not lose games. I expect him to leave it all out there and allow his team to really jump up. And lastly, I just don't know how much faith I have in the NFC North. I mean, I think we all agree the Packers were just ahead of themselves last year. No one really thought they were that dominating, but they did find themselves in an NFC Championship game. The Chicago Bears really are not great. We're thinking Matt Nagy may be on his way out, and that just doesn't bode well for it. So for me, the Lions have a chance there. And lastly, the Vikings. Vikings are a very good team. They're always going to be 8-8, 10-6, that type of thing. But do they really scare you that much? I don't think so. Next pick, this could be the typical year too early pick, but I'm going with Miami Dolphins. They were 5-11, a little bit ahead of themselves last year. But there was no stability. I mean, it was guys rotating in and out, guys leaving the team, guys looking to be traded away. I expect a lot more stability in 2020, and I expect Brian Flores to really flourish. And I think the other thing to me is the quarterback position. It just had such low expectations in 2019. I think 2020 with a little stability could do a lot more. And the third team is the Los Angeles Chargers. This is really a talent thing. 2 years ago, they lose to the Patriots in the AFC divisional round, even though they had a great team. They're very talented. To me, we're going to find out, and I talked about Phillip Rivers earlier. Was Phillip Rivers or the Chargers really the one going downhill, or was it both? And, new face in there at quarterback, so I'm going to go with the Chargers as a possible breakout candidate this year. Next, we're going to take a look at the running back position. We're going to look specifically at third-year backs with a chance to possibly break out. Dalvin Cook did this last year after kind of some injuries to start his year. Really went from under 1,000 yards to over 1,600 yards, total yards, in 2019. So who are some other guys that could do it? I bring up Sony Michel, first-round pick back in the 2018 draft. Has really just been a primary runner. Had a great 3-game stretch when the Patriots won the Super Bowl against the Rams a couple of years back. He's never really gotten the receiving game. I find it hard to think that he does, the third year of his career, and with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. But, the Patriots are going to have to be creative at running back and receiver and on offense this year. So for me, Michelle could be part of that creativity. Next is Kerryon Johnson, 530 games and only 8 games played last year. Part of kind of when I go with the previous selection of the Lions being a breakup candidate. Guys like Kerryon Johnson with real talent are going to have to break out in order to do it. The next guy is Ronald Jones. Had over 1,000 yards in 2019, with 300 of them being receiving yards. So kind of what Cook was, maybe a step better. I just really think, water raises, or a large ocean raises all boats. The Tampa Bay Bucks are going to take a step forward this year with Tom Brady compared to Jameis Winston. That's all Ronald Jones to me. It's a clear choice here. Next one's Nyheim Hines. I'm going to call it the Austin Eckler effect. He only played 30% of the snaps last year, but was reliable, played in 16 games. I think the Colts continue to look to get the running backs involved in that. With 60 targets, he clearly was involved, but I think Phillip Rivers knows how to use them. Austin Eckler had a breakout year last year with Phillip Rivers. I expect that for Nyheim Hines next year, making him and Jones my top 2 candidates for this breakout. We'll wrap up by looking at more of a team perspective. The 2 Super Bowl teams. How likely is it that one of them misses the playoffs? The answer is not very likely. To me, the Kansas City Chiefs is not even worth the conversation. I think the AFC is very, very weak. I think them and the Colts are both top-tier teams. You already saw Patrick Mahomes regress from his MVP year 2 years ago to last year, so I think there's no reason to think he's going to regress again. I think he stays the same or actually gets a little bit better. They brought back most of their team. It's not the big losses. So I expect them to be back there. San Francisco 49ers. So previously, the last couple of years, there's only been 3 teams missed the playoffs. After they won it, the Rams last year, and the Broncos and Panthers back after they made the Super Bowl in 2015. The big thing for me why you don't see that the case, these were all offensively led teams. Todd Gurley, Jared Goff. Going back to the Broncos, you had I forget who was on their offense. That might have been more of a defense, but also some pretty good offense there. And the Panthers, they had Cam Newton. So the 49ers, they weren't a one-trick pony last year. It's not like they had one guy that's going to not play well this year. They were really team-focused and had a very good defense with it. I think the biggest reason you could see the 49ers miss it is just does that division continue to step forward, and is it that much harder to win games in your division this year? The Seattle Seahawks are always going to be good. I think the LA Rams, you gave Sean McVay a whole offseason to really think about what happened the previous year. I think he could step up. And the Arizona Cardinals continue to take a step forward. So I think the 49ers, there's the chance they miss it, but it's not very good in my opinion. That's why neither team will most likely miss the playoffs in 2020.